The most common topic that I discuss with my clients is self doubt and imposter syndrome. And as we work on recognizing their accomplishments and building their confidence and growing their self trust, the number one worry that people have is, what if this makes me arrogant? So here's how to be more confident without becoming arrogant. Because the reality is, arrogance and confidence are actually quite different from each other. Arrogance has at its core a seed of insecurity. An arrogant person can't take in feedback or hear that they might be wrong. They'll dismiss you or argue with you or become defensive. And that's because arrogant people actually have quite a fragile sense of self. They have to be right in order to feel like they're good enough. Arrogance and self doubt are actually two sides of the same coin. An insecure person skews their problem solving by worrying, am I good enough? How can I prove myself? And those questions are a total distraction from the problem at hand. An arrogant person also skews their problem solving by thinking about, I'm the best, I'm always right, which is also a total distraction from the problem at hand. An arrogant person and an insecure person are both taking everything personally. An arrogant person and an insecure person are both making it all about them. A confident person isn't thinking about themselves at all, which means confidence is actually the opposite of arrogance. A confident person doesn't have to be right in order to feel like they're good enough. A confident person has a strong sense of inner worthiness, regardless of what's happening around them. They're not wondering whether they're good enough or whether they belong or whether or not they're doing a good job. And because they're not thinking about themselves, they have the bandwidth to be 100% focused on the problem in front of them. And when you're focused on the problem instead of focused on yourself, you can take in feedback or hear that you might be wrong without getting defensive. You can have conviction in your perspective while still staying open-minded and flexible enough to change your mind. You don't cave at the very first dissenting opinion, that's insecurity, but you also don't cling to your ideas no matter what. That's arrogance. You don't go in assuming that the fact that there's even a problem here is a sign of how unqualified you are. That's insecurity. But you also don't go in assuming that the fact that there's a problem here is a sign of how stupid everyone else is. That's arrogance. You don't wilt at the first failure. That's insecurity. But you also don't blame everyone else for not listening to you and causing your failures. That's arrogance. Defeating imposter syndrome and defeating self-doubt is not about inflating your ego. It's about creating a baseline level of security and worthiness within yourself, which then unlocks confidence without arrogance. And you might be wondering, how do I do that? How do I take things less personally? How do I not make it about me? How do I have a strong sense of inner worthiness regardless of what's happening around me? Now, you don't need to go back in time and give yourself a perfect childhood. You don't have to go do 3 million years of therapy, and you don't have to leave society, join a remote monastery, and become an advanced Zen monk. You just have to learn the skill of changing your mental mode. Arrogant mode, self-doubting mode, and confident mode are all three different mental modes that already exist in your brain. And you can think of them like three different roads that are in your head. You don't have to pave the roads from scratch. They're already in there. What you have to do is notice when your brain has gone down one of the less helpful roads and then change lanes back to the road that you want your brain to be on. In other words, you have to notice when your brain has gone into self-doubting mode or arrogant mode and then switch back into confident mode and stay there. So how do you do that? That is what I teach you how to do inside my coaching program. My foundational course breaks this whole process down step by step. My case study library gives you plenty of real life examples of people figuring out how to change their mental modes with real life problems. And coaching with me gives you hands-on, one-on-one support to gain mastery of this skill. I want you to come get a sample of mental mode coaching with a free anonymized public coaching call. The link to book one of those calls is above. Or you can come talk to me about joining my one-on-one coaching program and gaining mastery over your mental modes for life. The link to book a free consult call is above.